Welcome back to Lyrics 101. This will be part 2 of my critique and analysis of Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. The first part of it was in the Halloween season. This is more in the Christmas season because it's sort of a Halloween, but also a Christmas movie. This is a pretty decent excuse for why the second part is so late, I think. Anyway, if you haven't watched part 1 yet, go do that, then come back here to watch this part, which is 2. Before I get back to the actual movie though, I got some really interesting comments on the part 1 video that I'd like to talk about. One question I saw a lot was, do songs even need to rhyme? It's a pretty complicated topic, but I'll try to boil it down. The quick answer is no, but let's back up a bit to talk about how the rules of rhyme apply to this movie. At the risk of repeating myself, my philosophy on this is if you're going to work within a genre, like for instance a children's movie musical, you should either work within the established conventions of that genre or make specific, consistent choices of a high level of quality to establish your own unique style that exists outside of the normal conventions of that genre. Lyrics in movie musicals rhyme. They just rhyme. That's like the most fundamental convention of musical theater lyrics. And let's be real, most songs in most languages are expected to rhyme, otherwise they're generally just poetry set to music, which is a perfectly valid form of expression, but it's different from lyrics, certainly different from musical theater lyrics. But to your point, let's say you wanted to write a Disney movie musical with no rhyming lyrics. That's actually a really interesting, cool idea. Bold, never been done. But if your lyrics weren't specific and consistent throughout, then it would start to look less like a bold, groundbreaking take and more like a lazy job of writing a movie musical. Let's keep this thought experiment going though. Maybe you want your musical to have a specific character, group of characters, or situation that doesn't include rhyming lyrics. That's also interesting and could be really cool. But if it's not specific, consistent, and clear, then it could just come off like a muddled mess. Another thing I saw in the comments was like 30 different explanations and justifications for why Jack is the Pumpkin King. Now look, I can see that a lot of you have your own headcanons. I have my own headcanons about fictitious things. Like for instance, the only way I can really make peace with the Star Trek extended universe is if I think of every show and movie that happened after Voyager as if it exists in an alternate universe where I don't like it. But if everyone has to have a different headcanon to explain something that's repeated like 7 times in a movie, especially if it A, could have been made clear with 1 line of dialogue, B, could have been made clear with 5 seconds of footage, or C, if cutting it from the script would have absolutely no effect on the rest of the movie, then that concept probably could have used another look before they went into production. And one more thing to address from both the Nightmare Before Christmas critique and the Tasmania video that I did a little while back. Some of y'all speculated in both cases that maybe they meant to make the lyrics bad. To be more specific, the idea that maybe the Tasmania theme song is supposed to be unintelligible because Taz is unintelligible. Or maybe the rhymes in Nightmare Before Christmas are lazy because Halloween Town is kind of a horrid place, or because the movie is a satire of other stop-motion Christmas movies. Firstly, I think these ideas are a bit of a stretch, but let's go there. Okay, so if Jess Harnell and or Danny Elfman had a goal of using sloppy lyrical choices in order to achieve some kind of meta joke or narrative, well, they didn't actually do that well enough for the majority of the audience to get it. And at a certain point, if most of your audience doesn't actually get what you're going for in the genre of Disney movie musical, then you probably, in my opinion, didn't make as good of a Disney movie musical as you could have. It's not an abstract painting, you know? Again, I admit I am an overly opinionated overthinker, and I always have been. The irony of that is that most of the lyrics you've probably heard from me are stuff like,
"Oh, poop, not recommended for voting, cause poop, is that a candy bar floating? No, it's poop!"
But at the risk of committing special pleading, I think it's a little different, you know, like a big budget Disney movie musical and YouTube videos about video games. I just, look, if I ever get so lucky as to be asked to write a Disney movie musical, I promise you, and you can hold me to this, that I will work harder on the lyrics than I did for, I don't know, Castlevania 2 with lyrics.
Dracula, I am Bacula to lay the smacula.
Okay, Dracula, I am Bacula. Well, pretty good. Regardless, my hope with this series is that you, especially if you're an aspiring songwriter, can learn to examine and consider your lyrical choices and not just go with the first thing that pops into your head, and then revise those lyrical choices and make them better. Like I say, anyone can practice the art of songwriting. Here, I'll do it right now. I like beans on my head. I like beans. Now I'm dead. Okay, that was practicing the art of songwriting, but not the craft of songwriting. A banger though it was. Anyway, back to the movie. So Larry, Curly, and Satan come back from the holiday tree forest, but they've accidentally kidnapped the Easter Bunny instead of Santa. This is a cute situation, it's clever, but again, why can't Jack just go, either alone or with a team, to get Sandy Claus?
I'm very sorry for the inconvenience, sir.
So Jack is good-hearted enough to apologize to a random bunny for being mistakenly kidnapped, but bad-hearted enough to send terrible demonic children to kidnap a guy whose holiday town he greatly admires? To be generous, I guess you could argue that Jack is a product of Halloween Town, and so cruel, spooky things like kidnapping aren't such a big deal to him. But there's a fine line between showing that a character has different sides to their personality and just being inconsistent in service of the plot. Okay, on to our next song, Making Christmas, a sort of Merry Villagers ensemble number.
Making Christmas is so fine.
It's ours this time, and won't the children be surprised?
They're all doing things to prepare for their attempt to create this year's Christmas.
Snakes and mice get wrapped up so nice with spider legs and pretty bones.
God, I love these goofy vampires, I really do! Their lyrics here totally throw out the established rhyme scheme of this song, but I don't really care. I love it, and I love them. But what I don't love is...
All together dancing this with all our tricks we're making Christmas time.
Did you catch that? Elfman rhymes the phrase that and this with the syllables making Chris, and it's a near rhyme with all our tricks. As an internal rhyme, it's pleasing to the ear, it's pretty good at first glance. But one thing I don't really like is when lyricists will take a common phrase and change the wording around for no reason. In this case, the common phrase is this and that, but Elfman changes it to that and this, probably just to achieve the internal rhyme rather than for any storytelling or character-based reason. Now I can just hear some of you Nightmare Before Christmas stands saying, well, it's supposed to be like that because I don't know why you talk like a surfer, dude, but I'm gonna stick with it. Hey, bro, you know what's groovy about this movie? It's tubular that these Halloween Town denizens say stuff backwards because stuff's different in their world, man. And that's why they say common phrases backwards. But the fact is that they actually don't typically switch around the wording of common phrases. So if you're combing through the lyrics, as I do and cannot stop doing, then it actually sticks out here. If you can't fit the syllables of a common phrase over the melody you're working with, it's better to say it in your own unique way, or even to coin a whole new phrase, rather than creating an arbitrarily altered version of the common one. Here's an example. There's a musical I love by a guy named Jason Robert Brown. It's called The Last 5 Years, and while I love it, it is flawed, like every other musical that exists. So anyway, the character of Kathy in this show sings the following lyric: I will not be the girl stuck at home in the burbs with the baby, the dog, and the garden of herbs.
I will not be the girl stuck at home in the burbs with the baby, the dog, and the garden of herbs.
Did you catch that? Garden of herbs. Now, okay, can there be a garden of herbs? Yes, of course, look at my garden of herbs. But that's not actually what Jason Robert Brown meant. He meant herb garden. That's what you say, I have an herb garden. Or if you're in the UK, herb garden.
We say herbs because there's a f***ing H in it.
In the case of Danny Elfman, the phrase that and this goes by so fast you barely even notice it, unless you're like me, because I have a lyrical disease of the mind. But I would say it still has the same problem as Jason Robert Brown's Garden of Herbs. And even if you change the words that and this to this and that, it still wouldn't contribute to a logical through line. It would become altogether this and that with all our tricks we're making Christmas time. The phrase this and that would still just sound like filler because it doesn't logically follow the words altogether or logically precede the phrase with all our tricks. Let's think this through. This and that can make Christmas time, sure. And these people all together can make Christmas time with all their tricks, absolutely. But the phrase that and this is pretty clearly just there to fill out the melody line and be part of an internal rhyme with Chris and Trix. So even though it lands nicely on the ear, I don't think it's a particularly good internal rhyme because it doesn't mean what it thinks it means.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Now, if Elfman insisted on doing an internal rhyme there but wanted it to make more sense, it could be as simple as, if we hurry, we won't miss it, let's be quick in making Christmas time. Moving on. So Groucho, Harpo, and Spooko finally ring Santa's doorbell and just jump at him with a sack. That's fine for the plot of the movie, but if that's the entire extent of their kidnapping strategy, why did they need a whole song in which they planned to set some bait for him in a trap, boil him in a pot and then put butter on him, shoot a cannon at him when he opens his front door, bury him in a box for the oddly specific number of 90 years, lock him up for the oddly specific number of 90 years after beating him with a stick, and their most well thought out idea,
we'll send a present to his door, upon there'll be a note to read. Now in the box we'll wait and hide until his curiosity entices him to look inside, and then we'll have him 1, 2, 3.
Now that is a cool, fun plan. Why did they end up doing this boring workaday kidnapping without even establishing why they decided not to do any of the exciting, colorful things they elaborately sang about? I think the answer is that the lyrics in this movie don't always match the plot, dialogue, or rules of how the world works. If you're gonna do a whole song where you plan an elaborate kidnapping but then not do any of it, for no apparent reason, what was the point of the song? In the next scene, Jack is talking to Sally, who still has more stitches than personality, and she tries to tell him,
"But you're the Pumpkin King."
Okay, well, at least someone says it in the dialogue instead of just singing it, but we still don't really know what it means. Maybe it's more like the Tiger King? So Huey, Dewey, and Gooey finally show up with Santa, and we find out Jack's not just doing his version of Christmas in Halloween Town, he's gonna substitute for Santa in realms beyond Halloween Town. And here's where it really becomes clear that Jack is a hubristic, tunnel-visioned hot mess. He sent the evil minions of the literal boogeyman to a place they had never been and probably couldn't even conceive of, and clearly didn't give them good enough instructions to succeed on their first try, when he could have just gone back to Christmas Town and consulted Santa. Why should the audience even care about his journey and root for him? Because it's 1993 and they're 7-year-olds who will one day be scene kids? So the trick-or-treaters take Santa to Oogie Boogie against Jack's wishes. Anyway, next we see Sally, an absolute expert in spooky liquids, using something called fog juice to stop Jack's reindeer from taking off. The trick-or-treaters shove Santa down the birth canal of Oogie Boogie's evil lair, and now we get a bad guy song. Is it fun? Absolutely. Is it well crafted? To be fair, Oogie Boogie is a cool, iconic villain. I really like the character as a concept, but we don't really know anything about him in the greater context of the story. The movie acts like he's been properly set up, but we barely know anything about his personality and motivation, and instead of making this a big reveal, the movie just asks us to take for granted that bad guy bad. We know what the stakes are for Santa because he's in mortal danger, but what are the stakes for Oogie Boogie? And while we're at it, was that him on the moon in the opening number, or a lookalike, or what? I guess if I put myself in the mind of a little kid, this sack full of bugs in a voodoo blacklight dungeon is pretty cool. So maybe he's just the monster at the end of this book. That's not the worst thing ever. But as far as his big number goes, right out of the gate we have some pretty sloppy lyrics.
Well, 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 what have we here? Santa Claus, huh? Ooh, I'm really scared.
Here and scared. I know you're probably tired of hearing about it, but I just don't like those different vowel rhymes. This song is catchy, the visuals are outstanding, but it just kind of rambles along. It doesn't really make an argument, it doesn't present a clear idea, the lyrics barely take us from A to B, and while the tension is getting raised by what's happening visually, the lyrics aren't pulling their weight to help tell the story. It starts out with Oogie's surprise and disbelief that Sandy Claus is actually not very scary.
You're joking. You're joking. I can't believe my eyes. You're joking me. You gotta be. This can't be the right guy.
It feels weird to me that such a catchy and sassy melody line has the lyrics, "You're joking, you're joking." Like, I can't exactly explain why. It just feels like there's something hooky about the melody. and the lyrics are just kind of like in a stream of consciousness from this character, and they feel like they should be a little more weighty, a little more integral to the overall idea of the song. And they're not, and I don't know why it bugs me, but it does. And multiple times over the course of the song, Oogie Boogie indicates that he is laughing instead of laughing.
I might just split a seam now if I don't die laughing first. I'm drowning in my tears. It's funny. I'm laughing.
It's a uniquely weird way to break the show don't tell rule. The actor could have been laughing and giggling as he sang the lyrics, but instead, he just reports multiple times that he's laughing. It's weird. It feels like the kind of abstract storytelling you hear in a concept album. But once you see it in the context of a story told visually, it's like, you're not laughing, dude. You're saying you're laughing. Again, when we zoom way out, this is a really fun, flavorful song, and it's visually stunning. But instead of saying a lot with a little, the lyrics say a little with a lot. We learn that Oogie can't believe Santa is so unimposing, he thinks it's funny, and he's explaining that he's the boogeyman, so Santa should be scared. Is this just what he does to any person who the kids bring to him? Why does he do it? And if Santa's in big trouble, why does Oogie repeatedly save him from the traps in his own lair? So now that Sally has used the fog juice, we're treated to a sweet Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer moment with Jack's dog Zero. It's a cute touch. So Sally's fog juice plan has officially failed. She walks into the street and finally gets her own solo. But is it too late?
I sense there's something in the wind that feels like tragedy's at hand. And though I'd like to stand by him, can't shake this feeling that I have.
Hand rhyming with have bugs me, and by now I'm sure you know why. I also don't love that she leaves the word I off of I can't shake this feeling that I have. We know that she knows how to use the word I at the beginning of a sentence.
I sense there's something in the wind.
See? Next thing.
And does he notice my feelings for him?
So this brings up the concept of what I call parallel phrases. Personally, I like for parallel musical phrases to also have parallel lyrical phrases. In this case, the phrase, but does he notice, da 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 da, has the same rhythm and a similar melody shape as my feelings for him, da 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 da. And because of that, I think it would be better if both of these phrases rhymed. For instance, does he ignore me? Does he adore me? You don't have to force your parallel musical phrases to rhyme with each other. It's not some hard and fast rule. But in this case, I think it would sound better.
What will become of my dear friend?
In what way are you dear friends? He never said thanks for the fishbone and the wine. He presumptuously commissioned you to make him a Santa suit, unpaid as far as I can tell, and he doesn't listen to anything you say. I don't think you mean your dear friend, I think you mean your crush, girl. The larger problems with this song are its pace and its place in the overall narrative. The action of the story is ramping up. We had a showstopper with our villain, Santa's in trouble, Jack flew off into the sky despite Sally's dark premonition. It's getting real. So what better time to have a painfully slow and dreary soliloquy from a totally undeveloped character? I wonder if this song was originally intended to come earlier in the story. As it stands, it just slows down the momentum of the third act without really moving the plot forward. So, back to Jack. He's in the real world now? How did he get here without going through a tree door? Does the sky in Halloween Town connect to the real world? How does that work? Does this version of the sky follow Peter Pan rules? Is this how he knows a guy from Kentucky? But wait, if he's been to Kentucky, how did he get there without flying reindeer? Is this the first time he's flown? Does the sky connect all the different holiday towns together, even the ones we haven't seen, like the absolute nightmare douchebag hellscape of April Fool's Day Town?
There's no funny cutaway gag here. April Fools.
I love the idea that he's coming to our world on Christmas. It just feels like they didn't make any attempt to show how all the different fantasy elements here interact with each other. But it is fun seeing Jack try and fail to bring holiday cheer to kids.
Merry Christmas!
And what did Santa bring you, honey?
Ha, Tim Burton, you do like your stripy things. I will say though, I think what a couple of these children got for Christmas was death. So the folks back in Halloween Town are watching what's happening through a closed-circuit cauldron, and Sally realizes Jack's gonna need help. She goes to free Santa, which I'm not exactly sure how she knew he was there. There might be a good reason, I just literally do not know in this case. I'll say this, the way she utilizes her tearaway limbs here is kind of cool. It suddenly seems like almost like a superpower. But as the plot would have it, Oogie catches on quickly, and now Sally's in trouble too. Great. She's gone from murderous Rapunzel to vaguely trying to get Jack to like her to trying to help save the day to now being a damsel in distress. Cool, strong female character you got there. Back to Jack, who gets shot out of the sky by festive Yuletide artillery cannons. The cauldron lookers see this and they think Jack's dead. Even though, wait, is that good or bad?
Since I am dead, I can take off my head.
But whatever, he apparently lands in the soft arms of a stone statue. I guess he might fall with like the physics of an aluminum crutch instead of something with, mass. I mean, it would be pretty cool if he just landed and exploded like a bony firecracker. Anyway, okay, let's get back to the thing. So he has a dark night of the soul type lament.
What have I done? How could I be so blind?
This one is interesting. It doesn't rhyme much, but I don't hate it. Jack realizes he failed, he feels remorse, he's humiliated. This is the moment where he could actually achieve some personal growth.
Well, what the heck? I went and did my best, and my God, I really tasted something swell. And for a moment, why, I even touched the sky, and at least I left some stories they can tell. I did.
But Jack egotistically licking his wounds, something I have never done and would never do, and talking himself into how great he is, it just feels a little fast, a little convenient, a little wrapped up. He needs to head back to Halloween Town and get Santa, so he goes into a tomb? That's a really cool way to travel between realms, but it hasn't been established as a way to do that, so it just feels like they went, uh-oh, we didn't figure out how he gets back. Oh, just have him go into a tomb. Am I being too harsh and repetitive about the fact that they don't always set up their own rules, and when they do, they don't even follow them half the time? Don't answer that question. So Jack is sprinting toward Oogie Boogie's place to save Santa. And again, why does Oogie Boogie want to kill Santa? He's kind of doing this gambling thing where the jackpot is apparently getting to kill someone. If that's just his deal, why didn't they put a quick scene in Act 1 where there are 4 kids instead of 3, and Oogie just kills one of them in this manner? I know that would probably be too dark even for a Tim Burton kids movie, but if they did it off screen, it could explain the motivation of the kids a little bit better and why they do Oogie's bidding. At least better than, just henchmen be henchin'. So Jack arrives on the scene and Oogie Boogie fires up his playing card roulette death machine, which, let's be clear, looks really cool. So then Jack unravels Oogie Boogie in the most anticlimactic defeat of a villain since the Wicked Witch of the West. Aside from having a scene that felt like the climax of the movie, what was the point of all that? Anyway, Santa says he can still save Christmas, and he flies up into the pipe. Now riddle me this. If he could have flown up into the pipe at any time, why didn't he? When Sally tried to save him, he was slowly climbing up a ladder. Santa being able to fly magically is cool. Love that journey for him. But if you introduce it only once and never again, despite other situations where it would have been helpful, then it feels like that force speed thing in The Phantom Menace where 2 Jedis run at the speed of sound exactly one time and then never do it again, even when it would be useful. Number 4. The end of the movie. And now, for no reason, Jack suddenly feels like maybe things are romantical between him and Sally. I guess she got her wish to date this guy who's kind of a public figure but also kind of a hubristic doofus. Sounds like my girlfriend, actually. So anyway, the demon kids help Jack out of Oogie's dungeon. But why? Aren't they evil and not to be trusted? If they aren't evil, why did they do evil? Why should they be trusted now? Meanwhile, Santa succeeds at saving Christmas, everyone in Halloween Town finds out Jack's okay, and they briefly reprise the song This Is Halloween, which is now partially in a major key, so it sounds happier and implies how everyone's understanding of the universe has been enriched and changed by the concept of Christmas. It's a really nice touch. And Santa can be seen in the sky, which is also nice, but how? If the skies connect all the different holiday town land zones, then why did there need to be the doors? Why does this bug me so much? So now everyone sings What's This? Because there's magic Santa snow in Halloween Town for some reason. I'll admit, it is fun to see all the Halloween folks enjoying a wintry Christmas scene, and combining the musical material from What's This and This Is Halloween is fun. Sally walks to the Pumpkin Patch Graveyard, aka the Royal Court of the Pumpkin King, blessings be upon his majesty. And Jack just starts serenading her as if both of their character arcs had clearly been leading up to this. And they share a romantic, if frankly unearned, duet.
We're simply meant to be.
You're simply meant to be? Why do you think that? You're meant to be because she had a crush on you? You basically ignored her and never once showed that you appreciated her, and then you realized she did a few nice things for you and told you about an omen, so you're fated to be together? The romantic subplot here is just so half-baked. And the movie didn't even need it. And the fact that Jack behaved the way he did and still just gets the girl in the end, and that's the final image of the movie? I don't know, it just feels like they didn't quite think it... Wait, what? Adaptation? According to Wikipedia, The Nightmare Before Christmas originated in a poem written by Burton in 1982 while he was working as an animator at Walt Disney Productions. So this thing was all based on a poem. Wow, and it rhymes almost perfectly. I did not see that coming. But also, it's about as short as a Dr. Seuss book. And we all know how well Dr. Seuss books translate to the screen.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the poem does not mention Sally or Oogie Boogie. So if it feels like they were inelegantly shoved in to increase the runtime, it's probably because they were inelegantly shoved in to increase the runtime. Maybe it could have been a better story if it were simplified down to be more about Jack and Santa. Or Oogie Boogie could have had a plan from the beginning, or Sally and Jack could have had a fleshed out will they won't they romance. But as it stands, you end up with this movie that has too many ingredients for its short runtime and doesn't dramatize most of its characters, which makes us have a hard time following their journey. By the way, Tim Burton couldn't even get it straight with the Christmas Town Land Zone stuff. He calls Halloween Town Halloween Land, as well as just Halloween and Pumpkin Town, and he says both Christmas Town and Christmas Land. Don't change the name of your own fantasy invention and muddy its specificity just to complete a rhyme. Jeez, it's like the issues I have with the movie were baked into the DNA of this concept from the start. Now look, I've given Danny Elfman a lot of guff in this video, but let me make something clear. I love this man. I love his work. He is a god to me. I just don't think he's a great musical theater lyricist. Sure, I get nitpicky about the bad rhymes, but the real glaring flaw in the songs is the disconnect between the story as told by the lyrics and the story as told by everything else. Again, the music part of the songs is amazing, but the lyrics rarely rise to meet the level of the music's quality. Musical theater lyrics ideally need to carry more information per word than dialogue scenes, because on average, they come out at about half the speed of dialogue. So if you have all this stuff like A Guy in Kentucky and Neighbors Dying of Fright and I Am the One Hiding Under Your Stairs and Oogie Boogie's Boogie List, but meanwhile we don't actually understand the motivations of half of our main characters, then you've wasted words on lyrics that don't actually help tell the story. Now look, I don't have to tell you this is a beloved movie. It's got a cool premise, the visuals hold up to this day, and obviously millions of people love it and have loved it despite the problems I have with it. But I guess I just mourn for the unrealized, better version of this movie that would have had more revisions, more tightening, and more of a shared ecosystem between the songs and the script. The main lesson here is that it takes a lot of revision to make a musical feel of a piece. In other words, to make it feel like all of its parts work together. So, despite the fact that this video is coming out closer to Christmas time, I'd like to end it with a spooky Halloween analogy. A musical is kind of like Frankenstein's monster. It's made up of all these different independent parts, but they have to be assembled in a way that lets them work together. Ideally, if you take the monster apart, make some improvements to its individual parts, maybe switch some parts out for better ones, and try putting it back together again, and again, and again, eventually the cohesion of the monster will get better and better. People will barely be able to see the seams, and it'll almost be like the monster had always been that way. It's just too bad, that Such a beautiful and unique movie musical could not have been more like that monster. So that's it for my Nightmare Before Christmas video. Real quick, this shirt, a lot of you are asking where I got it. I honestly keep Googling it. I don't know if it was a gift or if I got it on one of those websites where the shirt is only available for like one day and you got to order it then. But I'm so sorry to say, I don't know. It's Golden Girls meets Scooby-Doo. Just titties to Jesus here. But I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. It's sort of the new, where'd you get your Mega Man shirt? Actually, interestingly, the answer to that question is Hot Topic. Just bringing it all around. Before you go, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment telling me what your favorite or least favorite lyric from this movie is. Okay, bye.